Ah. Well, I haven't seen you for a while, huh?
It feels like a while.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Carl and I here. Carl showed up today, and we're here for the Saturday evening edition of Gaijin 50 Plus. And looks like we've got a single guest here. So if you want to come in and, they rank these commenters. The first one to comment. Oh, there it is, Kelvin. Good morning, Kelvin. Congratulations on your successful launch. Kelvin is the guy who's out in Alabama, works for the rocket people out there, and they put that rocket, I guess it's on the way to the moon still. And
We're
I
talking
hope
about,
everything's going fine.
oh, I was
Hmm.
going to say, we're talking about Artemis 2. Is that the name of
Yeah,
it?
that's it. That's it. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Kelvin says he's tired. He was telling me the other day that he had very little sleep the day, the day that the rocket went up, and right after he talked to me, he had to go back into the office to do some more work for the rest of the day. Yeah. Yeah. It's on the way. Artemis 3. Okay. Good name, huh? Yeah, and they say that that's
Oh,
going to be. Mhm.
I was going to say,
They say
do
that.
you want to
Mhm.
show my image as well?
Pardon me?
So I believe I'm not showing up on the video. Maybe can everybody hear my voice?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I chose the wrong layout. That's all. Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
I
problem.
I I have to click the right button, and I didn't. I could do just me or me and you or small me and you or they've got these different layouts, and I just got to remember to click the right one.
You're like the video
Okay.
DJ here.
Yeah, video DJ. Hey, you're in a different place today, huh?
Yeah, I'm at my I am feeling better than I did, but today it's rainy, so I'm
Yeah.
uh I'm coming from my slightly messy home office.
Oh,
So
yeah, the rain. I tell you the truth, this earlier today I was going to go out for a walk around the neighborhood to, stretch my legs out after sitting at the desk for so long. And then I was just getting ready to go out the door, and my wife says, "Well, it's raining," and well, that killed that. So I ended up sitting at my desk again all day. Okay.
it's the luxury of people like us who's like, oh, if it's raining, well, I don't go out. It's like we're cats or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, they're cats. There you go. Okay. Hey, Carl, you got a greeting there. All right. And
Oh, hey, Kelvin.
Rich is here. Hi, Rich. Good to see you. Manga
Okay. Yeah,
University, the king of Saitama. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's the king of
Uh,
Saitama. The word is, right? Yeah. Oh, you
okay.
weren't. That was one of the times I think you weren't here. Manga
It's been what,
University.
2 or 3 weeks or something since
Yeah,
I
yeah.
since I showed myself. Yeah.
So Manga University came to Japan and had the chance to meet up with another person who's one of our members here, and they knew each other in like middle school or high school or something like that. Hadn't seen each other for years and years, and met up again in what do you call it, in Japan. Isn't that something?
And but they
Okay.
contacted each other and then got together.
I don't know if Manga University. I can't remember. They talked about it. I can't remember the details, but they were able to get back in touch with each other. All right, David Cole, oi oi, and oi oi back at you. And Richard, good evening. Oh, he's the member who knew Manga University. There you go. There you go. And how did you guys meet up? You met up by chance in Japan, or something like that. I can't remember the story. Steve Martin, howdy, howdy, the peasant of Noborita. We got a king and a peasant. Hey, that's a good combination, right? Maybe the king of Saitama can put that peasant to work some way. Okay. Oh, we knew each other in middle school a half a century ago. Isn't that something? That is really, really something. Yeah.
I
Steve Martin.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I want to throw out I don't think I've this feels like it's like less likely than winning the lottery. So I came to Japan in 93. My family came to visit me in 94. And I was living in Hiroshima and we were going around Tokyo, and my brother and my parents were here. And when we were walking around Ginza, my brother ran into one of his classmates from university, like
Huh.
bumped into him on the street. It's like, so I've run into like classmates, like for example, in airports in Germany or Detroit or something like that. But airports kind of makes a little more sense because everybody has to go through the airport. But
Sure.
like on the street, that was kind of wild to just run into somebody like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if anybody
Yeah.
has stories like, no, no, this was more random, let's hear them.
Yeah. 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 That does happen though, I guess. We got,
Hmm.
in fact, we got the whole story here. A mutual friend of the States asked us if we ever saw each other in Japan, and neither of us knew the other person was living here. Isn't that interesting? And they were able to
Yeah.
catch up. Isn't that cool? Okay. And our common friends. Okay, this is the same thing. I've got an interesting one. Okay. I've run into former students at Shinjuku stations. Scary. Yeah. Shinjuku Station's a big place. It's
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah.
Even
I
if you
tend
have
to,
an appointment, even if you have an appointment and you're trying to meet somebody, chances are it's hard to
yeah.
find them sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't know about it. I think everybody does it when you're going through a station like Shinjuku or Shibuya. You tend to shut out all, what should I say, all consciousness of what's going on around you, you know?
Hmm.
So, okay. I ran into a high school classmate at Ueno Station years ago. Isn't that something? Okay. Hmm. I went to a Canadian Academy in Kobe and Christian Academy in Higashi Kurume. Any alumni? Anybody out here? No, Canadian Academy in Kobe. I didn't know they had a Canadian Academy in Kobe. Okay. And Christian Academy in Higashi Kurume. Oh, that Chris. Oh no, I was thinking of ICU. That's in Mitaka, isn't it?
That sounds right.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess there are a lot of English schools in Japan. You know,
Hmm.
in the comments of some of these videos I've been doing recently, some of the people coming in and talking about the different thing. There seems to be a lot of gaijins coming to Japan and loving it, loving every minute of it. You know,
That's not that surprising.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder what it's going to be coming in the future. Yeah, somebody's going to thank you. Mohammed Semari. Sorry if I butchered that name. I liked your video about going back home and the difficulties you faced. It touched me. Thank you very much. And you know what was interesting about that, Mohammed? I got comments from people. Of course, I live in Japan and I'm American, so I had that point of view. I heard that from someone who said they had the same experience when they were living in Korea. Another person had the same experience living in Thailand. Then people started saying not just the US and Japan, but other countries. And the most amazing thing, a number of comments from Japanese people who went to the United States or Canada or another country, saying that when they come back to Japan, they can only take it for about a week or two because something just ain't right anymore. So
I guess, and I think you touched on this a little bit in your video because I saw that and it moved me too. So Muhammad isn't the
thank
only one
you.
who it moved, you know. But
Thank you.
on the one hand, it's a different country, and on
Yeah.
the other hand, like they've all moved on. Like it's 2026 now. It's not 1976. So, um, you know, Actually, I think I can hear myself a little bit in the background, maybe.
Oh, really?
But
Y-
hopefully
Yeah,
it's well.
actually, your video is a little bit jerky sometimes. So I don't know if you're on a Wi-Fi or what.
I'm gonna switch that. But I guess what I was saying is, like things have changed and we haven't kept up. So that's like, various things about society, friends, like you're talking about, like you want to know what to do for, the medicine or social security or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think everybody can relate to that. And like you said in your video, you've invested in like a social network here, and so when you go back, it's like, yeah, I can totally relate.
Yeah, and I don't know how old everybody is. The viewership at the channel tends to be a little bit older, but when your parents go, the game changes completely because I think you and I were talking behind the scenes here, Carl, and you still have family back home that you can rely upon, and that as long as you have that, ability to where you can go back and somebody's there that you can rely upon, that's a very big safety valve. But once that's gone, you're just sort of sitting there and saying, "Wow, I'm all on my own here." Yeah, like I said, if I went back to the States, I wouldn't know where to even start. Okay. And then a few weeks back, Manga University and I ran into each other in these comments. Okay, you keep running into each other. Good. And I'm glad to see you both here. You're both great participants, right? In fact, am living here for 37 years, and your experience made me think a lot. 37 years is a long time. And you know, even as long as I've been living here, I think sometimes about different things. What if I don't think it will, but what if Japan starts going in a way that they don't want foreigners here anymore and actively start to kick foreigners out? Or what if China starts to get feisty, or North Korea starts to get feisty? What would I do, right? I mean, it's a question I ask myself often, but I guess we're all in the same boat in that regard. Okay. Well, Mohammed, good luck to you. Good luck to me. Good luck to you too, Carl. Good luck to everybody here. Okay. All right. Yeah, there are a lot of people who go through culture shock going back to their country of origin after living in Japan for a while. Yeah, that's true. In fact, I've been looking into the topic of reverse culture shock. And to tell you the truth, I've been thinking about doing another video on that. Not so much my um, experience, but talking about some of the experiences of our commenters, some a more general, not just Japan, America, but any country and another country. What is reverse? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would imagine that in general, the degree of reverse culture shock, among other things, is kind of proportional to how long you've been here. So GAIJIN50 plus, you got the max on the reverse
Yeah,
culture shock, I would think.
yeah. And thinking about it, and thinking about after receiving all those comments, I started thinking in these terms. When you come to another country, let's say I came here, but that's not the only instance. But you come to another country, and that's your identity. You're the American. It's
Hmm.
part of your daily identity. That's how people perceive you, especially in Japan. They physically perceive you as that, and interacting with people. Oh, you're that American guy. You're that, and it starts. Yeah, American, 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 and then you go back to America, and you find out that it's not. You're not that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You mean
yeah,
you lose your celebrity status?
yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of that too.
But so like as we all know, the child between like a Japanese person and like an American like us, that child is often called hafu. And
Yeah.
they have half their DNA is quote unquote Japanese and half of it is American. And I joke and say, well, I'm also hafu, but not by DNA, but by time. So like I've
Yeah.
spent half of my life overseas and half in Japan. So
Yeah.
yeah, a different
Yeah.
metric, but obviously that's not what the hafu usually means. But I feel like culturally, I'm at least hafu Japanese.
I read a article by an American guy who was married to a Japanese woman, and he was saying about how he hated the term hafu, and he kept saying, "My kids aren't half; they're double," which I always thought was a cool way to look at it. Okay,
Uh,
let's see.
I so I think each person has their different feeling of about what they would like to be called, and I have the feeling that in Japan, at least these days, hafu isn't usually said in like in a derogatory sort of way. I think long ago there were other words that were more derogatory, um, but yes, so I think a lot of parents feel that hafu is a derogatory term and they don't like it.
Yeah, right, right. Okay, Manga University says, I once had an office in Kawaguchi, and across the street was a used car dealership run by another foreigner. We knew each other enough to say hello when seeing each other, but not much beyond that. Then one summer, I was attending a trade show in California, and an elderly woman approached my company's booth. We chatted for a few minutes, and then she asked me where I lived in Japan, and I told her a city called Kawaguchi. And that led her to say, my son lives in Kawaguchi. I missed my space here. Oh, you can guess the rest. Yeah, it was that woman's son. Oh, I had something just recently. I just realized it. Thank you, Manga University. As I'm in the country music thing, and my wife has this friend of hers who really likes this one guy who was playing at this usually plays at this regularly plays at this one live house, and my wife and her friend go there quite often. And my wife says to me one time, well, if you're not busy tonight, I'm going to go with so and so, and we're going to go see that guy play. I'd like to know what you think about him. He's a Japanese guy, country music. So I went, and he was actually quite good. I mean, I really liked what he did there. But he had a bass player. The bass player was a very tall guy, and he had a six-string bass. The neck was really wide. And was sitting there, and my wife says, "Yeah, that guy's a Maori
Mm-hmm.
from New Zealand."
Yep.
So I'm looking at him, and I say, "Yeah, Maori from New Zealand. What? What? Do I know him?" kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during one of the breaks, I walked up to him and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" Yeah. And I said, "Did you ever play with a guy named Casey Rankin?" And he goes, "Yeah, Casey Rankin was a good friend of mine." And I, about 30 or 35 years ago, went to a studio to meet up with Casey Rankin. And Casey was putting together some project. And that guy, that Maori guy, his name is Mike. Mike was playing bass for him that day. And just for some reason, blammo,
So
there it was.
even though you didn't really know him, you had been in his presence, so to speak.
Yeah, I talked to him. Yeah, yeah.
But I was going to say, like, the fact that it happened 35 years ago and then you recognize it, it's like there's something almost like, I don't know, supernatural or like something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really fushigi to
yeah,
meet up with
yeah,
somebody. Like if I were to meet somebody from like my substitute teacher from fifth grade or something like that, that would be really weird.
yeah,
It would
yeah,
be like it would really make you go, hmm. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
a
Well,
nice story.
the reason I remembered Mike is I don't run into too many Maoris. There's that too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, he's quite an interesting guy. And in case you didn't know, Casey Rankin was quite a famous guy in the Tokyo music scene years ago. There used to be a band called Shogun, and Shogun was made up of Japanese members and one American member, and that American member was Casey Rankin. And he went on to, well, he used to write theme songs for mangas and things like that, and quite an interesting character. Really a funny guy, but unfortunately, he was a heavy smoker, and he is no longer with us. Poor guy. But anyway, that's maybe some of the old timers might have known Shogun and Casey Rankin. Okay. Okay. When we lived in Ohio, we knew lots of engineers who came with their families to work at Honda. After 5 years, the kids had trouble when they returned to Japan. Yeah, I've heard about this. Okay, he's got more. After being away from the US for 5 years, I thought my car's speedometer was broken, but what had happened was the average speed had risen 10 miles an hour while I was away. Shock. Okay. Oh, those are two. I'm sorry. I thought those were connection. All right. Now, this thing about Japanese people, especially young kids, moving away and moving to the States and stuff, and then coming to Japan, that's a very well-known trend. A lot of Japanese young people dislike the strictures of Japanese society compared to what they are like in the U.S.
I guess if I think of elementary school kids, like everybody's expected to like pitch in and clean up together, and like you're supposed to avoid disagreements. I think that's like everybody's supposed to agree. Whereas in the States, I think, people have their opinions and they disagree with each other and they don't clean the school. There's a janitor for that. And then another thing I would imagine is like the drilling of the kanji. And in the States, especially like in a place like Marysville, where Honda is, then people or students can go to like a Saturday Japanese school, but if they spend too much time with their American classmates and they don't spend enough time with their Japanese classmates or working on Japanese, then coming back can be an issue, I could imagine.
Yeah,
so I wonder if those people, did they start going to international schools when they came back, or did that's Rob, right? Or Rich?
Did he? Rich, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever follow up with anybody who went back? Did they say how their kids dealt with it? That would be interesting to know.
Okay, and another component of that reverse cultural shock is an overestimation of the first cultural shock. Reading Project Hail Mary, Species Shock. Yeah, Project Hail Mary, that's supposed to be big hot story these days. Supposed to be really, really good. Okay.
It's a book about culture shock or something?
Yeah, I don't know about the book, but I know that it's a movie or a TV series or something like that, something to do with the sun. I shouldn't say because I haven't watched it, only I've heard about it. But it sounds like it's supposed to be a great show. Everybody says it's a great show. It's back to the old thing of being entertaining. Entertainment that's entertaining. So this big discovery, right? Entertain people and they'll love it. Okay. We feel most comfortable among other Kokusai-jin. Yeah, in a way. But when I was doing translation, I mean, during the real heavy days of translation, I didn't know any gaijins. I thought I was the only gaijin in the world. I thought I was the only translator in the world. And then I joined the Japan Association of Translators, and I found out there are many of them running around. Okay. I lived in Japan many years ago for 6+ years. Buy me cola. Hi, welcome back. I remember you from last time. Had to leave because I found the daytimes incredibly boring with nothing to do. Okay. Why the daytimes? Because maybe you were working in the You know, I said something in one of my videos, I think, when I was down in Fukuoka. The golden times for teaching were morning and evening. And the daytimes we had nothing to do. Really, I mean, I would go to the movies and hang out and sit around coffee shops and meet my wife, who was in a hot chick, you know.
When I was teaching, I had that same schedule. So like might have like an early class in the morning, maybe like 8 a.m. Because the Japanese companies, they like their employees to learn English outside of regular working hours, so it doesn't interfere with their work. Whereas like the
Right.
American companies, like that's part of their job. And
Yeah.
so I had like proofreading work that I would do like in the middle of the day. And so I could work in the morning and then teach in the evening. And then I had something else to do with my time that was more flexible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
totally relate to
Yeah.
your story in terms of the busy
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. So maybe that's what he's talking about the daytimes being boring. Well, Howard comes in and says, "Did anybody back home tell you you look like Japanese?" I was shocked when they told me that when I went back to Egypt for holiday. They told me that when I went back to Egypt for holiday. Can you imagine an Egyptian looking like Japanese? I wouldn't say physically I don't look like Japanese, but I know that I was complained people complained about at me for having Japanese mannerisms. When I was drinking, I was sitting there with an American friend one time in a tavern, and as we were sitting there talking, he'd drink his drink, and I'd grab his beer and pour it, and he actually became pretty irate. Why do you keep pouring beer out in my glass? And I didn't even realize I was doing it, right? Yeah.
Or
How about you?
taking your shoes off, or probably insisting that people take their shoes off if they come to your house if you
Yeah.
move back. It's
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
I just came to get my keys. Like, back off. Um,
Yeah. 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 One of the first times I went back, we had a family gathering, and my mother's mother was there. Now, my mother's mother was an immigrant from Poland, and she came over here as a very young lady, but she lived in a neighborhood in South Chicago that was totally Polish people. And you could spend your whole life there without speaking English because everything was done in Polish. And so after having lived abroad, I became really interested in her and her story, how she came here, what she encountered, because I was having a kind of like a similar experience. So one of the first things I asked her was, she was always saying her father was so poor and her family was so poor. And I said, well, if you were so poor, if your family was so poor, how did you get enough money to come here? And she said, my father sold a cow, which I always thought was really cool. But anyway, as far as the mannerisms, her, she could speak English, you know, quite well, but not 100%. And there were
mhm.
certain, if I used some difficult word or some difficult concept, it was a little bit difficult sometimes getting it across to her. And I would sit there and talk to her. And women at a certain age, bachan age, they kind of look the same, right?
Mhm.
Polish and Spanish and Chinese and Japanese women don't look that different, right? So I'm sitting there talking to her, and I would say something. I would say ne ne ne, and she said, "Why do you keep saying ne?" So I
Yeah, I
remember
guess.
that.
So the Aizuchi, right? So like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
so that
yeah,
even if you convert it to English and you say
yeah,
then
yeah,
like talking to an American, be like, just shut up and let me talk.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
like just
yeah,
listen. You don't have to keep saying all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Even in my holidays, I travel outside to Singapore, Jakarta, Bangkok, and Colombo. Yeah, good. I know people who every time they have a spare moment, they're off somewhere to the U.S. or to Switzerland or this place or that place. And even though I like traveling, I like going to other places once I'm there, but I don't like traveling. I don't like the act of traveling. Yeah.
So when I came to Japan 30 years ago, the tickets were a lot cheaper. Security was a lot, I guess, laxer and therefore more convenient. And the yen was much stronger. So uh,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I traveled. It felt like it was cheaper to go to Korea or Singapore or
Yeah. Yeah.
one of those places than to travel from Hiroshima to Tokyo, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. During the
not
bubble,
anymore.
during the bubble, you could go round trip to the West Coast for like 80,000 yen or something like that.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Buy me a cola. New sub here. I like your. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. I hope you continue to enjoy it, and I hope you continue to come out to our live streams. I like I said, I saw you the last time because of your unique name. All right. Steve says Kenny Rankin fan. R.I.P. Under the radar singer, songwriter, guitarist from New York. Yes, you're absolutely right. Uh, not Kenny. Well, yeah, I said his name just a little while ago. Yeah, yeah, but he was quite a talented guy, quite a talent, and quite a character, quite a character. I really liked hanging out with him. Okay, why did they go back? Uh-oh. I think this continues a conversation that I don't remember. You're pretty good at following those, Carl. You know? Why?
I've been.
Oh, maybe the
Uh,
kids?
I don't know. Oh, maybe he's talking about the one with the kids from that whose fathers worked at Honda or fathers or
Yeah,
mothers worked at Honda,
yeah,
and well,
yeah.
presumably that was the end of their whatever assignment, and they were
Mm,
going back to the home office. So family goes back.
mm,
I mean, that makes
mm,
sense. I lived overseas when I was a kid for my father's work, so we
mm,
eventually got back to the
mm,
States.
mm. Oh, here's a when I'm back in California, I've been told by friends not that I look Japanese, and I certainly don't, but my mannerisms are Japanese. Yep, got that. You find yourself bowing and doing like this when
especially
you
especially if
pass in
oh
front.
yeah, right. Yes. And especially when you do it on the phone, right? It's
Yeah,
like hi,
yeah,
hi,
yeah,
hi, hi.
yeah. Hi. Do you know somebody asked me, Carl,
Mm.
right at the beginning of this podcast that we started doing it together? They started asking me if you were part Japanese. They said that
Me,
you look part Japanese. So maybe you
uh,
better, quit studying so hard.
it's I guess so. I've been told like, is your hair getting darker? I don't think my hair is getting darker. It's like, oh, maybe it's all the wakame you're eating or something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but by
yeah,
time, yes, but
yeah,
by DNA, no.
yeah.
So
Oh, I remember now. Not Kenny Rankin, Casey Rankin. So okay, I just wanted to get that out of myself. Yeah, so maybe you've been here too long. Great movie and read. Oh, I guess that we're talking
Project
about
Hail Mary,
Hail
maybe.
Mary. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to looking into that. I experienced some reverse cultural shock, but it was short-lived. Okay. Yeah, that's good if you can get past it.
Do,
Um,
sorry, does that mean that he came back to Japan to avoid the reverse culture shock, or does that mean he got used to it pretty quickly?
I don't know. I don't know. When I came, when I came to Japan, and like I always say, I came in the military, so I was sort of like eased into Japanese culture. And I didn't, but even off base, I didn't feel any shocking culture shock when I first came to Japan. But when the first time I went to Korea from Japan, it was pretty cultural shocking in those days because in those days Korea was still a very poor country and they were under martial law and things like that. And I was really shocked when I went there. There was a lot of weird stuff going on there. Okay. So Project Hail Mary is a movie starring Ryan Gosling. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing the movie or reading the book, one of the two, or both. Yeah, Andy Weir is the author of Project Hail Mary and The Martian, both good movies, though I haven't seen PHM yet. His parents were both physicists. Wow, physicists. Okay. Go ahead. You want?
I was going to say,
Yes.
I think The Martian. I wanted. there's another famous actor who's in that one, and I obviously that's the guy who goes to Mars, so
Okay.
or gets stuck on Mars. I think I'm pretty sure that one's like on Netflix and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I sort of like the Mars Attacks. You know, I don't know if you.
that's also science fiction, but I think it's quite different. Although, isn't like Jeff Goldberg in that one?
Yeah, there are a lot of people in it, right? Jack
Sure,
Nicholson's in it,
Gina
and
Davis, maybe.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that woman who used to be in Sex and the City, they turned her into a
Uh,
dog.
I missed that part, but
And Peter Bronson was in it, and yeah, all kinds of
yeah.
people. Yeah, and they used country music. That's how they killed the Martians by
I play
playing,
deadly country music.
and their heads exploded. Okay. I have some Japanese friends that just moved back. They were here for 5 years. They were okay. Maybe they were. Oh, they were here. Kelvin's in the U.S. They were in the U.S. for 5 years. Their kids are having rough time readjusting back in the culture they spent their formative years here. Yeah, I can see that happening. Okay, they are not enjoying kanji at all. Yeah, that's what I heard, that a lot of kids that come back have a hard time with kanji, and with Japanese language in general is pretty hard. The formal Japanese language study.
I actually, so I went back to the States for about 6 or 7 years, and just like you, is kind of shortly after I got there, like, this was a mistake. I should have been just stayed in Japan. But obviously, I eventually came back to Japan. But I met a Japanese guy whose parents had moved to the States from Japan, and he was a Japanese translator working at a technology company. And the reason why he was really good at Japanese, even though he had spent basically his whole life in the States, was that his parents always threatened, "Oh, we're going to go back to Japan like 2 years from now, so you better, stay up on your Japanese." And so he he's kept his Japanese up, and turned out that he never went back. But that was how his parents got him to be good at Japanese, and he made a career out of it. So
Yeah, yeah.
so if you're a Japanese parent and living in the States, threaten your kids that you're going to go back to the Japan, and maybe that'll
Yeah.
encourage them to work on their kanji.
Yeah. Fear and terror does it every time, right? Okay, I don't know what the young kids do to cope when they return, but it is very common for older kids to go to international schools. Honda has support programs in the US and in Japan. Okay, thank you, Rich. When I was at Sophia, I knew a bunch of young people, and many of them were Japanese or what do you want to call that? Zainichi Koreans. And their parents wanted them proficient in English. So they sent them to international school like St. Mary's or American school in Japan. They paid the money. And these young people, they were really good in English. I mean, native speaker level English. And their Japanese, their conversational Japanese was good, because they lived in the Japanese society also. But their kanji was not good. They all had trouble reading Japanese and writing Japanese. Okay. Oh, Muhammad, boy, we've got a lot in common. Fukuoka is my home now, very good for living. Muhammad, Fukuoka is my Japanese hometown. That was the first place I lived when I first came to Japan. And a lot of the stories I tell are old-time Fukuoka stories. Where do you live in Fukuoka? I'd like to know. And I probably have at least heard of it. Next time I go down there, I'll come by and say hello. Okay. All old people start to look Japanese. The eyes start to droop. Yeah, exactly. Especially around the eyes. They all start to look similar, right? No offense to old people like me. Even living in Tokyo with millions of residents, I still feel lonely / alone. Yeah, I've heard that. Tokyo with this millions of residents and Japanese people, as nice as they can be, when you're an unknown, it people, you're ignored, right? I've had it on the train where I've said something to someone standing next to me. Not that I was, but like if something would happen nearby, I'd make a comment about it, and they would go, "Huh?" Like, "Wow, who are you talking to me?" So it is true, a lonely place.
So actually,
Yeah.
so I have a question about that phenomenon. So when my parents are actually from New York City, and 20 years ago, we all went as a family to New York City, and my mom was talking to like all the other people on the subway, which was kind of surprising for me, from Japan, where you don't really, especially in Tokyo, where you don't really talk to people. But obviously, she's from a different time, so to speak. So in Japan, and then when I was in Hiroshima, sometimes people would talk to me on the train. Again, this is 30 years ago. Did you feel like, so compared with Tokyo now, did you feel like many years ago people would talk to you on the train a little bit more like my experience observing my mom in New York City, or it's like Tokyo now, it was the same in Fukuoka in 1970?
My memory is that Tokyo has always been relatively cool,
Hmm.
standoffish. Fukuoka, people used to come up all the time and start talking. Where are you from? How long have you been in Japan? Do you like sushi? And that
What are
kind of
you
thing.
doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here? And yeah, I mean, people used to come up and do you mind if I practice my English with you? And I told you the story about the time I was sitting in the train and the train was stopped for a few minutes. I don't know what they were waiting on, and there were very relatively few people on the train, and they were these four people, two facing each other, kind of seating arrangements. And I was nodding off, and I felt some guy sit in the seat across from me at an angle. And I thought, oh, this is going to be practice my English with you. I think I told you this one. Practice my English with you. So I'm going to just pretend that I'm sleeping and I'm not going to get suckered into this. And the guy was, and I was keeping my head down. So he moved to the seat in front of me and kicked my foot, kicked me in the shins. And I went, oh, and he goes, oh, excuse me. Would you mind if I practice my English with you? And I didn't get upset. I thought the guy was, I thought that was,
so
boy, the guy was
so
dedicated.
I wonder, if you say, would you mind if you buy me a beer?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, it used to be annoying. May I practice my English with you and stuff like that. But, in a way, I miss it, because you got to meet
Mhm,
some really interesting people that way. But
yeah.
I think, it's my theory. Like back then in Fukuoka, especially, kids would gaijin, and people would stare at you and stuff like that, and the gaijins would complain about it all the time. And I think that the word got out. You shouldn't be doing that kind of thing because you're making these gaikokujins feel bad, and so Japanese people quit doing a lot of these things, and I sort of miss some of them, to tell you the truth. I miss
Mhm.
being stared at, especially by young women. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm not a henna oji-chan. Japanese bachan rock. Hey, nicely put, Ednoy. That thing can be a problem even for native speakers. I am from the South, where it is considered good manners not to interrupt different from native New Yorkers. Oh, you mean like somebody's that what you said, the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
name? Oh,
When you're
yeah.
listening, it's like,
Uh-huh.
uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you're from the South, not different from New Yorkers. Yeah, very different from New Yorkers. New
Uh,
Yorkers, well, I don't know how many people from New York are here, but even Chicago, my father had some business dealings with this office in New York. And every time I hated talking to the one guy, maybe it's the one guy, but I hated talking to him on the phone because he always seemed to have the attitude that anybody west of the Appalachians was a hopeless hillbilly or something like that, you know.
Well, I find it interesting that, Michigan, where I claim to be from, and Chicago, that's the Midwest. It's like, isn't it in the Eastern time zone? But I guess
Yeah,
from the people on the East Coast, everything is West, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, if you're thinking about the expansion of the country, it went as far as
Sure.
Chicago at one time. And I heard that's why Chicago got so screwed up crime-wise and with Al Capone and stuff like that, because it was far enough away that they weren't that they could get away with a lot of stuff without the feds showing up. And
So,
yeah.
is that beyond the long arm of the law? Is that
The beyond the long arm of the law, yeah, and that's how a place like Salt Lake City was established because they were trying
Mhm.
to escape the long arm of the law. Okay, yeah, bachans can be the best. Okay, and Hakataya today for dinner. Okay, yeah, Hakata's got some good food, huh? They've got a lot of good food.
I've heard. So I've been to Fukuoka a couple of times, not recently, but I've heard that the yatai culture is like quite special.
Yeah, yeah, the yatai culture is fun. You got to be careful though, because it's a little bit what do they call? I don't know. You call it in English, botakuri. If they know
They
somebody's
overcharge
from,
you sometimes.
if you're from out of town, if they can pick up that you're not a local, yeah. And the food, some of the food is good, especially if you're half sloshed. It's really
Hmm.
cool to stop at a yatai and have something to eat. I heard that there's a French guy who has a yatai, and
Yeah,
his
I've
yatai
heard of
is
that too.
packed every day. Yeah. You guys are like the Martian making life in a foreign planet. Hey, there you go, Axeman Japan. Did you ever see yourself as long term Martians, or did you just end up stranded like the Martian? Yes. Yes to both questions, right?
I
Um,
I came on a 1 year contract, and it has been, well, it was renewed several times, and then I went contract free. But
yeah.
yeah, there was a point, maybe not today, but maybe another time I'll have a chance to mention it. But there was a point where I felt like I was going to pass the point of no return. And so
Uh-huh.
actually that was when I decided to go back to the States. And then obviously I came back several years later.
Uh-huh.
But I at that time I didn't want to be trapped here. But once I went back, I'm like, well, no, I'd rather be there.
Yeah.
So I came back.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think 99% of the long-term residents here came to Japan and were planning to stay for a year or two. And me too. I didn't know I was
Hmm.
going to be here this long. I didn't
Yeah.
expect it at all. Yeah. Okay. Paul asks, when was I at Sophia? I was there from 95 to 2005. I was there probably in the 70s, late 70s, I would say. I went to college very late, and I graduated. I was almost 30 years old when I graduated. Had a wife and two kids when I graduated. But yeah, so I was a little bit earlier than you. Were you 95 to 2005? Yeah, I was there when they still had the international division out in Ichigaya. So if that's any means anything to you. And Mohammed says he's out in Ropponmatsu. Matsu. That's a nice part of town there, Ropponmatsu. Matsu. Okay, I know it well. All right. Okay, stick with us there, Mohammed. And like I said, next time I go to Fukuoka, I'll give you a call. Sakurazaka. Okay, I know Sakura. I used to ride my bike up and down that Saka. All right. Okay. And I once had a Japanese student from Carnegie Mellon taking biology lab at the TUJ during the summer. When I asked how his English became so good, he asked if I had ever done drugs.
So does doing drugs make your English good?
I don't
Or
know.
that's an interesting turn of conversation.
Stephen can be cryptic at times. So if you wanna expand upon that, we'd appreciate it. Okay, we've got another one. Fata Morgana. Oh gosh, I'm within walking distance from Mohammed. And you know me, Ed. I do. Maybe I do. Fata Morgana. I know. I don't know the name, but
Is it your wife?
I are you the fish? Are you the fish? Okay. If he's the fish, he'll know what I mean. Okay. And we call our child Double. There you go, Richard in Japan. That's what I heard a guy saying. I thought that was we are all Double. Yeah, we're all a bunch of mongrels, aren't we? What are my grandchildren? Quarter? Some people will go that far and say that. Quota, I've heard that. But I mean, personally, I think it's crazy that people think that way, but Japanese people do. Okay. Here since 2015, so I used to feel so socially repressed because I thought there was no depth in relationships. I now feel the exact opposite. I can't tolerate shallow, less committed American friendships. Hey, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot about Japan that I don't know, becomes better or easier to take or easier to go along with the longer you've been here, of course. There were certain things that used to drive me absolutely bonkers. Now, less so. I won't say 100%, yeah. But there are certain things you just get used to doing it, right? You got something?
But I was gonna say, I feel like living here in Japan, then sometimes, like we're doing now, getting together with other Americans or other foreigners, and sort of chewing the fat. It's therapeutic. I think that's probably why a lot of us are here and this live stream. So even though, like, for the most part, a lot of us, we have Japanese families and lots of Japanese friends, Japanese coworkers, but sometimes it feels good to be among people who grew up in the same country as you or are foreigners just like you. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure, when you come to Fukuoka, we can have dinner. Sounds good. We have to try to figure out a way to get in touch here. Sure, okay. And Project Hail Mary, sci-fi movie. Yep, good sci-fi movie, I hear. Yeah, they had the Ichigayo and I was there. Okay. All right. I know that it's changed, but I wasn't sure when. Go back to the moon. They're trying to, aren't they? Jim Street's friend, Bill. Yeah, I know who you are, Bill. Yeah, good old streetcar. This is a good friend of ours, Jim Street, who unfortunately was also a big tobacco man, and I think that's what did him in. But good friend. I first met Jim Street when I was about, well, 20, 21 or 22 years old, and he helped me get my first English teaching gig in Fukuoka way back when. And I am who I am, and I know who you am. Nice to have you here, Bill. Okay, Steve Martin. In other words, the student didn't ask your question and threw you a curve. Didn't like your question and threw you a curve. Yeah, that's about the, do you take drugs? Okay. Okay. What did you tell him, Steve? What was your answer? That's what I'd like to know. Returning to Japan in my 70s, wow, feels like a warm embrace, Ed Noy says, like returning to the motherland. Yeah, yeah. Isn't that something? That's, yeah, I know the feeling well. I know the feeling well. I remember, I was in the suburbs of Chicago, wide open spaces, lots of green, cornfields and all that kind of stuff. And really, should have been a great place to live. But I felt so relieved when I was in a taxi from Haneda Airport going to a hotel, driving among the concrete jungle of Tokyo. I felt the warm embrace, like you said. It's strange. To this day, I feel it's strange. Some drugs, yes, psychoactives, make the ego more permeable and facilitate intrinsic motivation. Marshall Childs, who used to write the Practical English column, and I chatted about that. Okay, all right. And what's his name? Scott Adams. The Scott Adams, the cartoonist. He
Dilbert.
used, yeah, he's. I guess he passed away recently. He used to advocate microdosing LSD. So
There was a few years ago. There was kind of a boom of articles about microdosing LSD.
yeah.
So
And there used to be a time that meth was a normal thing. Like having a cigarette or a beer. Yeah, you didn't know that
in the U.S. No, I had
in the U.S. Yeah,
I only know
and
Breaking Bad.
yeah, and in Japan and Germany, they used to give it to their soldiers.
I know armies give strange things to their soldiers in order to
Yeah.
was optimize immediate performance and don't worry about the future.
Yeah. Don't worry about the next 10 seconds, right? Nomication, alcohol-driven facilitation of communication. Yep. Nomication. No.
Communication.
Nomication. Right. I remember that word. Yeah. And it does work, doesn't it?
Sometimes people regret it later, but
yeah. I find Japan reliance. I did a lot of nomication with Jim Street in the past. The guy that's the common friend with me and Bill. I find Japan reliance on intuition is better than relying on mental gymnastics in the U.S. Yeah, there are certain things. I used to. My wife used to say this to me. We get into a discussion about this, that, or the other thing, and I'd say to her, no, A equals B and B equals C. So A equals C, and everybody knows that. And she used to say, you're too rikutsupoi, too logical, right? Yeah.
My mom would say like, "Oh, you're being my little lawyer."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
legalistic.
Yeah, there are certain things that you shouldn't think out, you just have to feel them, I don't know. It's like we're living in the land of ET or something like this, right? Marshall Childs, huh?
Hey, actually, let me just butt in. So we're hitting about the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
And I know today the comments are keeping us going. You did have some articles that you had mentioned. I don't know if you want to switch over there or if we're good with just the comments, and we can leave those if you don't need them.
Well, from the beginning, I always thought that the comments were good if the conversation lags or slows down.
Mm-hmm.
And today it seems to be such a good conversation. So I haven't gotten to there are a couple of them that I want to get to, especially the bicycle thing and maybe the Sakura thing. But let's see if we can get some. Let me try to go through these real quick. I'll quit spending too much time on each one. And by the way, at Toyosu Tokyo. Okay, Toyosu. I understand the project Hail Mary didn't use CG, but actually built Sister look more like really. Haven't seen it yet, but looking forward to it, as am I. Slurping noodles. My mother reached across the table and slapped me. The Japanese friends with us tried to tell her, no, no, that's the right way to eat noodles. There you go. There you go. My sister, who grew up in Japan but had been away for 30 plus, remarked when she returned how drab and uncolorful the country is. Well, there's that too, right? I mean,
I noticed.
especially,
I noticed like car colors are like gray or silver or white. And like if you go to Europe, it's like, purple and green and blue, and the US is kind of in the middle.
and you ever go to a men's shop, a men's business wear shop? I mean, it's dark and white, you know. I mean,
50 Shades of Gray.
yeah, 50 Shades of Gray. And I don't know how it's been since you've been here, but it's only relatively recently that they have started to allow pastel dress shirts for men. And
Mhm.
I used to see on the train when I was down in Fukuoka. This is way back when these businessmen, and they'd be on the train. And in those days, the train didn't have an air conditioner; they just had the overhead fans. And these guys would be wearing a wool suit, and they had French cuffs and a necktie, and and the necktie is right up to the neck. And they'd be standing there, and they used to wear long underwear. And I
Mhm.
asked one time my wife, I said, this guy is the middle of summer and he's got a wool suit. Why is he wearing long underwear? And she says, that's to protect his suit against the sweat. And they're
Uh,
spreading the whole time, wiping their brow. And man, I could never understand that. And everybody's shirt was pure white, no pastels at all, and no
ex ex-
stripes or. Hmm?
except the armpits were probably stained yellow from the
Yeah,
sweat.
yeah, there you go. The different little bit of color in there. But yeah, the drab coloring, you look, one more story. I'm sorry to drag this out, but
No, no, it's okay.
my wife and I went to get on a bus, and my wife was wearing this coat. It was during the winter time, and it wasn't like fire engine red. It was closer to a burgundy,
Hmm.
a deeper shade of red. And she sat down on the bench, and I was standing there, and there was this woman sitting next to her, maybe a little bit older than we were at the time. And this woman looks over at my wife, and she says, "What a nice coat you have." And my wife, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like this coat too. And the woman says, "I have a coat just like that, but I'm too hazukashi to wear it outside. I'm too
Backhanded compliment or
too
whatever passive
embarrassed to wear
aggressive
it."
compliment.
It's like, what? Anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
do you wear it under your kotatsu in your house?
Yeah, there you go. I used to get diet pills from girls in college. And anyone remember Exadorol? I don't remember it offhand, but yeah, yeah.
Was
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not a drug expert. I mean, I'm medical
Yeah,
drugs, I know, but
yeah,
not
yeah.
recreational
Recre
ones.
recreational ones. Yeah, I mentioned meth. Meth was really big in the Japanese army during World War II. And I forgot the commercial name, but I wrote an article about it once. I had to turn that article into a video. It was pretty interesting. Intuitions versus mental gymnastics sounds more of a persistent personality trait than a cultural difference. Could be. When I go to the US, there's a constant low level stress. When I come back to Narita, I relax and say to myself, I'm home. Yeah, I know the feeling very well. I think sometimes as an American, I let myself believe in ideals, and Japan is very aggressively pragmatic and imperial by nature, even just if it's subconscious. Okay. All right. Axman, sorry to chime in. So no, don't never say that. Everybody's welcome. And I'll tell you what, it would be a bummer if nobody chimed in. It'd be a bigger bummer, to tell you the truth.
It'll be all the more work
Uh,
for me. Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Leave me alone. I'm trying to think, I recently had my castle painted. Oh, did you get that peasant to do it? That Noborito peasant? Mint green with yellow trim. The neighbor's jaws dropped. I'm sure they did. They bet you they love it, right? I hope nobody comes over there and, like attacks you like that guy did and that neighbor did in wherever
The
that
bishops.
was. Yeah, the bishops. Okinawa is more colorful than mainland Japan, except they insist on wearing black while walking at night. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, we're getting near the end of the comment. The Martian, Matt Damon,
Damon.
Damon. They rescue him, Interstellar, Damon. They try to rescue him from another planet. Hollywood has spent more money rescuing Matt Damon than any other actor. That's a good remark, right? Excedrin, it's enhanced with caffeine. Okay, good enough. All right. Let's take a look. We don't have a news item. Well, let's talk about it because I was thinking about it. I had to go out the other day and get a haircut and walk down to the mall down there and stuff like that. And it's a wide sidewalk walk all the way down there. And the whole time I was walking there, and it was on April Fool's Day. So it was on April 1st, and I was walking along the sidewalk thinking to myself, well, today's the first day of the enforcement of these new bicycle laws. I wonder how it has changed. And the answer, the verdict, not one iota, zero, zilch, nada. Everybody, all the bicycles were on the
Sidewalk.
Sidewalk and weaving in and out, and it was the same as it's always been. Okay, I got to interrupt real quick. See you, Mohammed. Enjoy the game. Okay, I'll be back here again Wednesday. All right, and nobody, I had one guy, cut me off because he wanted to get across the street and stuff like that. The only difference I saw this near where I live, there's a big police, is it a station or a barracks or something, a big major police station. And the policemen get to the police station by bicycle. They're official white bicycles. And they wear their little helmets, a gun and a little helmet. But anyway, and in the past, they would all, they'd be riding single file, 5 or 6 of them down the sidewalk. I mean, very gently and quietly, but they were always right. The other day I saw them on the 1st, they were all walking their bikes on the sidewalks. Why they didn't ride their bikes on the road, I don't know, but they were walking their bikes on the sidewalk. Did you get a chance to go out, Carl?
I haven't been out that much. It's been raining. But where I live, there is no sidewalk for the most part. So I guess it doesn't really affect like the places right around my house. But I did see on the news that maybe it was on April 1st, and they were making a deal of, they were showing cops giving tickets, and apparently they said, if you're just there's like about 10 different things, like no using your cell phone, no 2 people on the bike, et cetera, et cetera. And they said if you're breaking 2, they're going to give you a ticket, and if you're only breaking 1, they'll just give you a warning. And so just having seen the news, maybe the news is their way of escalating the warning that they're giving people. It's like, we're going to start enforcing this, whereas your experience is no enforcement to speak of.
Yeah, well, actually, where I was walking and where I'm at is not really downtown Tokyo, so I don't know what was going on down there. But we'll see, because that's always the crux. If anybody is going to be enforcing the laws that they have. Here's a comment. One of my favorite topics. Which side of the sidewalk do Japanese people walk on? I was in Japan last week and spent all my time dodging. Yeah, this is, I think I've talked about this, haven't I? Carl, do you remember my talking about that?
I don't remember. I do know
Okay.
that some in some
Your
places
connection.
maybe it's printed on one. Can you? Am I okay now?
Yeah, you're okay.
So so when they have really wide sidewalks in downtown Tokyo, some places have like a bicycle painted on one side and pedestrians painted on the other side. And so obviously you just go where it's painted, but the vast majority of sidewalks don't have such distinctions on them.
Okay. This is what I have been able to figure out. And this is not just a gaijin bitching about something here. Because when I was looking for what other people were saying, I was looking for something, and I came across some blog posts by Japanese people who were saying the same thing. And they were saying, especially older people don't know which side of the sidewalk to walk on. Now, I've had it happen. Now, like most normal, logical people, traffic usually follows the same rules. So cars are on the left. So you would imagine that when you're on a sidewalk, pedestrian traffic should keep to the left. And I have had, especially older people, walk right up to me and tell me I shouldn't be walking on the left side of the road. And I say, well, in Japan, the traffic is keep to the left. And they said, yes, cars keep to the left, pedestrians keep to the right. And very confident and strongly saying that. And I started thinking about that, and I looked it up, and I found a poster, and I can't find it anymore. But there used to be posters, and they used to teach kids that when old people were kids, and they would show a poster of a road with no sidewalk, but with like lines and just a little place for people to walk. And the headline said, "Cars keep to the left, pedestrians keep to the right." So it was poorly written Japanese. Of course, it should have been cars keep to the left, pedestrians walk against traffic when there are no sidewalks, right? But when you have only pedestrian traffic on a sidewalk, and then people say, no, vehicles to the right, vehicles to the left, pedestrians to the right. Well, if a bicycle is a vehicle, then you have bicycles on the left and pedestrians on the right, and they'll be running into each other all day. So it doesn't. But I've had people. I even have stopped and explained this to them logically in Japanese, and they look at me and they say, "Tonikaku, Nihon de wa."
So gets back to your discussion that you have with your wife, where it's like, rikutsupoi.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you though. But so let me add, when I was in Boy Scouts like 50 years ago, then I think hiking, we were taught to hike on the side of the road against traffic. And I think the mindset was you could see the car before it hits you. Or you could see if, yes, exactly. So whereas if you're walking the same direction as the cars, you're literally blindly trusting them to avoid you, and you're taking yourself as a mitigating factor out of the process.
And not only that, if you're walking along with traffic, you wander off into the traffic and stuff like that. But if you see a car coming, you're more careful too. So
yeah.
But thank goodness they've changed that, and they are making their posters now walk against traffic when they're doing it.
Okay.
The Rikutsupoi way. And the younger people agree. A lot of younger people in their blogs say, why do all these people say this? Older people say this. So it is changing, but it's going to take a little bit of time, Okay. Shred Edward says, I walk on the left. Manga University being the king, I walk on any darn side I want. being the king of that's in Saitama, right? Axeman, when I first came to Tokyo, it didn't seem like there were many written laws on signs. My friends used to camp in parks often as it wasn't a law. Every law on a sign seems like a reaction to foreigners. Could be. I don't know about foreigners, but there are a lot of signs that go up in reaction to, some kind of behavior that the people in charge don't want to have anymore, whether by foreigners or by Japanese. It seems like there are a lot of signs here and don't do this, keep off the grass, no fishing, no swimming. Every little pond and body of water has a fence around it, and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. We don't want to complain though. It's a bit like having a beer at a gaijin bar, but with a time lag. Okay. I don't know what that means, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Walk against traffic because you can't hear electric cars sneaking. Yeah, electric cars are really dangerous, aren't they? I've been out, and I'm walking along. Whoa. Yeah.
Well, so there are cars that aren't really electric, but they have like a small battery so that, like they can coast more. And so sometimes they're quiet. I guess some of them have like a little whir, whir, whir sound that they make to specifically for warning pedestrians. But yeah, it's sometimes I've been shocked when I've been walking and the car sneaks up on me.
Yeah. There was a time, I don't know if they ever did it, but there was a discussion when cars started to become quieter. There was a discussion about purposely adding motor noise to make cars more noticeable by pedestrians, but I don't know if that ever got off the ground.
Some performance electric cars have, or like cars that have, like, let's say, a small engine with electric boost, they have sounds of a big engine going so that the people driving them feel like they're driving a real sports car.
Okay. Hey, how about this one? Ta-da. Where did Karl go? Let me add you to this stage. There you go.
Yeah.
And let me get rid of old Richard here. Okay. This is Visa News, and one of the milestones of this channel was when we did some Visa News. That's when this channel really took off. And this is hot off the wires. Japan is going to start requiring language proficiency proof for engineers, specialists in humanities visa. Okay, I don't know how many of you are on this particular visa. And it says the Japanese government has decided to require proof of Japanese language proficiency for individuals seeking the visa status of engineer, specialist in humanities, or international services for work requiring Japanese, a source close to the matter said Friday. And this is prompted by a growing number of cases in which individuals enter the country under a visa status for professions requiring specialized knowledge, but then end up working in unskilled jobs not permitted under it. So their Japanese proficiency at the B2 level of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is equivalent to N2 of the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, will have to be documented when you apply for these specialist visas. What do you think about this? Good idea? Bad idea?
So I'm just thinking about my own case. So I came on the JET program a bazillion years ago, and I didn't know Japanese, but I learned while I was working as an English teacher. After a few years, I switched to a job. I was pretty good at Japanese after a few years, but I had only taken N1, or actually back then it was just called EQ, but I hadn't passed. And so if they required me to have already passed before I got my job working in a Japanese company using English and Japanese, then I would have not been able to take that job. And then so for people, maybe that So maybe they will change the job description. So the job description will be help with XYZ, but they won't make mention of Japanese. There's, I think either a comment there or somebody else said, it's like, I think it's a lot easier to work on your Japanese while you're in Japan than to get N2 before you come to Japan. And one more comment is the Japanese language proficiency test is offered all of twice a year. If you don't pass now, I mean, that's a pretty long time to wait. My guess is they will have fewer and fewer people. They're like, okay, if I have to do that well on Japanese before I come here in the first place, I'll just go to a different country and work in a different country. So I think this will reduce the pool of people who are interested in coming to Japan.
Or else they have to increase the number of testing dates.
I mean, I think it's even without this requirement, like TOEIC is like 10 times a year or something like that. It feels like they should run that test more frequently than they do.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like it's going to. I mean, I don't know what problem it is that they're trying to deal with, but I have a feeling that there's plenty of things working against foreigners coming to Japan. This is another one. My guess is they'll have fewer and fewer people who want to come to Japan if it's going to be such a high hurdle. And it's not like they're going to get paid like American salaries or something if they come here. So,
okay, you asked about what kind of problem they're trying to solve. I did a little bit of quick research before we came on air here because I don't know anything about this kind of visa either, and that was my question too. How was this being abused until now? And according to what I found out, number one, there's some companies and people were using fake or watered down job descriptions. Companies would write a fancy job title such as international marketing specialist and then get the person over here and they would be doing just basic customer service or clerical tasks and sometimes even manual labor. And then English teacher. Some companies were using this as the Eikaiwa teacher pipeline. They would get people over here and then dispatch them here and there, and just the warm body approach to English teaching. They would offer jobs as international services, and then get people over here and then farm them out as English teacher. And they said there was a degree mismatch loophole. And originally, your degree is supposed to match the job that you're coming over here to perform, but they didn't pay much attention to that. And like if the paperwork was in order, you'd get your visa. There was no checking to see if your diploma matched
your
what
major, yeah, sure,
your major, or even if you were doing the job that you originally came here to do. So they said that it was abused by quite a bit. It was abused quite a bit, and they felt a need to tighten it up. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because that's, like my degree is in mathematics and I came to teach English. I filled all the requirements that were described in the visa application. I had an employer. I did the job that they hired me to do. So I feel like I didn't decide the system and I didn't cheat the system. I worked within the system, but that was what the system was. If they want to limit the people coming to only people who have studied teaching English as a, TESOL or teaching English as a foreign language, etc., I guess that's Japan's prerogative. But my feeling was when I came many years ago, if they had such a requirement, then they would never be able to fill the number of job openings they had. So maybe supply is way higher now and demand is lower, so they can, I guess if you have like if you have 1,000 women who want to date you, then you can have pretty high standards, right?
Yeah, that's why my standards are so high. I ever tell about that?
I haven't heard your
No,
stories.
okay. Later. All right.
Is everybody chiming in?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to the car thing, and Rich says some people need a train whistle and a bell. There you go. Good luck on the engineers and scientists. If Japan needs them, they shouldn't be putting barriers in the way. Yeah, the whole thing is all right. As I looked on this, it wasn't. It sounds like from this article that we just saw, language requirement. That's not the whole thing. It's to ensure that the people coming in to be engineers and scientists are in fact engineers and scientists, and are in fact qualified as engineers and scientists, and not just coming in on an engineer and scientist visa and then ending up working in a construction company or something like that. Evidently, that was being abused. There was no checking, no matching, and it says that from now on they're going to do a better job of keeping an eye on to make sure that the people are matched to the jobs that they're applying for. My workplace is almost entirely English, remembering the kanji, helping with the kanji. But what do you recommend to improve kanji vocabulary and reading fluency? Axman says. Well, Carl is a big student of kanji, vocabulary, and reading fluency. So I'll just turn it over to him and go ahead.
This is a slightly older book.
Oh, back it off. So for
Okay.
some reason,
Sorry.
it's not.
This is like a 1994 version of Remembering the Kanji. So, and this book changed my life. So,
Okay.
it's hard to get all the way through it, but when you're done with that one, you can get. Oh, okay. This is 3, and actually I don't have the book 2, but I've done 2. Yes, James Heisig's Remembering the Kanji. I fully support that system. What do you recommend?
By the way,
go ahead.
Your blur was blurring the title, so that's Remembering the Kanji, right?
Yeah, just like Axman said. And the author is James Heisig, who's
there it is.
he's a priest from he was at Nanzan University for a while. He must be he's older than probably everyone on this conversation, but fantastic book, and like I said, changed my life. So I totally support his approach.
Okay.
And like once you know the meaning of the kanji and you could recognize the parts, then when you see a word like sugar urine sickness, tonyo-byo, like even if you don't know how to say tonyo-byo, you can pretty much guess that it's diabetes. Keep going with that, and then it's going to help you a lot to learn kanji compounds later on.
Okay, hope that answers your question there, Ax. Yeah, I didn't even notice that Axman had the name of the book in his comment there. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Side of the sidewalk. I once heard in NHK that in East Japan, people walk on the left, Osaka, etc. They walk on the right, and Nagoya, it's roughly 50-50. I heard that that's true on the escalators. In Tokyo escalators, you keep left, and Osaka escalators, you keep right, and so I don't know. Yeah.
There was when I was in Hiroshima, I didn't care. Maybe we don't have escalators in Hiroshima. No, that's not true. I just stand behind the person who's standing in front of me, or if I want to walk, I walk where there's a free lane. But I think Tokyo is left and maybe Osaka's right. But I want to say around 2010, there was an accident in, I think, Nagoya Station or somewhere in Nagoya where somebody died on an escalator. And it caused a big movement of when you're on the escalator, don't walk, stand left or right. You can stand wherever you want, and you can block everybody else. But I don't. So they made a big deal of it, but and I'm only familiar with Tokyo, but I'm pretty sure everybody still stands on the left and walks on the right. I don't know. Do you remember that incident? And did you notice any change after it happened?
And I think in Saitama, maybe this was by decree of the king of Saitama, I don't know. But I know that Saitama at one time passed a resolution or gonna pass a resolution to make it illegal to walk on a moving escalator. But that didn't work. I mean, and nobody pays attention to it. But it was, I believe, a thing at one time. X-Men says thank you, by the way.
And X-Men also mentions kohi, and there's a website called Kanji Kohi. The guy's name is Fabrice, is the guy who programs it. And I have spent many hours on that website. And so for people who are into the remembering the kanji system, I highly recommend Kanji Kohi.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Richard makes a good point that I had in my mind too. Humanities visa is often used for English teachers, so they must learn Japanese to take a job for which they are often required to not use in Japanese. The company that I work for that sends me to the university where I teach has a strict no English or no Japanese rule.
English.
Yeah, no English rule. That would be cool. But, you know, as a writer, a teacher of written English, you know, I understand the immersion thing and all that kind of stuff. But if you're teaching written English and you want to tell somebody like transitive verb, isn't it easier just to say tadoshi instead of going through all kinds of explanations, trying to
sure.
Yeah, but it's not allowed. I have been warned many times. Okay. And says Richard in Japan.
Actually, let me back up. So I think the article said for jobs that require Japanese, like work environments. So I do believe that if it's a company like yours or your university workplace where they say you must not use Japanese, then my guess is that based on that job description, they would not require N2 for you.
It says, seeking the visa status of engineer, specialist in humanities, or international services for work requiring Japanese. Yes. So if your work requires Japanese, you're going to have a Japanese requirement. Yes, you are correct.
So for example, Rakuten and maybe companies like Uniqlo are famous for having English as their internal language. And so my guess is that if you don't have Japanese and you want to come to Japan as an engineer, then companies that have such policies can probably get around this requirement. It would be my guess.
Okay. And user, did I pronounce that correctly? The demand for coming to Japan is extremely high, and employers can afford to cherry pick the best qualified candidates, according to my friend. And that way makes logical sense, doesn't it?
So if they demand to coming to Japan means there's lots of applicants for a few jobs. Is that okay?
Yes.
So they can pay them low wages and they can choose from. They can cherry pick.
As a matter of fact, I read a story not too long ago about food service jobs, visas for food service jobs that were from East Asian countries. And what Japan did is they put a limit on the maximum number of visas that they would issue during the year. And I think it was something like 50,000 or 30,000, some tens of thousands. And some countries were on it. And, you know, like Vietnam had, you know, close to half the visas were by them. And the Philippines wasn't on it. and they only got like 2,500 visas. But the visa quota was totally filled by March or April. So hopefully, hopefully maybe this is a good way to do it. Keep the standards high and keep that riffraff out of there, right? Maybe we should start packing our bags there, Carl. English grammar is often mathematical. Well, grammar.
So maybe this is how I got my job.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You rikutsupoi. Okay, Japanese proficiency for humanities will be problematic if English is considered a humanities. Some programs insist wrongly that no Japanese should be used in class, but should follow Japanese orders. That is true. I don't want to get into it because I'm still working there, but we'll let that slide until someday. Kuhi, coffee.
It's actually kohi, like coffee.
Coffee, all right, is an amazing app for remembering the kanji. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before. Yeah.
Yeah. I will meet my end by falling in a drain. It's just that Ed Noy is always talking about falling into a drainage ditch or getting sucked into an escalator or getting beamed by a silent car. Maybe that's what we're all, that's the fate of all of us Martians living here, all of us rock, what is it? Rock people, the rock alien or something like that. Researcher Paul Nation, New Zealand, has done lots of research indicating knowledge of L1 is useful for teaching L2. Total immersion is effective only in very limited cases. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of innovative theories coming out about that kind of thing. Okay.
So this is Paul Nation book over here. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are telling the truth.
Yeah. All right. When my entourage carries me up an escalator, they do so on the left. The king of Manga University. Yeah, you never do steps, do you?
Which side do rickshaws go on?
Yeah, there you go. They got those guys, carrying that thing, right? Palanquin, I guess they're called. Yeah, teaching grammar. Agreed. I teach grammar points in Japanese so as to free up as much time as possible to actually practice usage. Bing bong. And I believe in that too. Because what's the objective? Is the objective to get a student capable at having a discussion about grammar? No, I don't think so. Anyway, shut up.
I think the most important thing is that the students understand what's being taught.
Sure.
Second important thing is that they have as much opportunity as possible to use the language.
Yep.
But if you don't have what's that called, realia, then the alternative is to use an L1 explanation. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be talking all in Japanese, of course, but
of course not. Of course not.
It's one of the tools in the toolbox.
I speak Japanese in terms of nouns. I'll say, well, this is a transitive verb. You understand transitive verb? Tadoshi. And
Yeah.
And I just throw that out, just as the definition of of the vocabulary I'm using. I don't go into full sentences.
Wakarimasu ka?
No, I do. Yeah, no, I don't. You don't understand. No, I do have some handouts that I prepare in English and Japanese, which are really popular, as a matter of fact. Okay, Okinawa has OIST graduate university that is largely English-based. Top students and faculty from all over the world come here to study. I'm sure they get visa waivers anytime they want. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's the level of the institution doing the application. There are a lot of fly-by-night organizations, especially in the English business. Tokyo Dan, who's not here again, son of a gun. Tokyo Dan was saying that he used to work for Berlitz, and he said something really funny one time. He said, "You know, these English schools, if a rich guy came in one day with a briefcase full of money and his pet monkey, and he put that briefcase down on the table and he said, 'Teach my pet monkey English,' they would say, 'Yes, sir,' and they'd get to work." Trying to, right? Not that they would, but they'd be trying to. Okay. I always crack me up the way whenever he says that. I received my PR on my 3rd year here. Way to go. It seems like they're pushing more for digital nomads and no longer want to give out ZIDU cards. Okay. All right. Yeah, PR, it's a hit and miss kind of thing. I talk to people.
I was going to say, so 3rd year here, I think that's, and obviously this is under the old rules, but there is, what's it called? The high tech, I forget the name of but it's like a highly skilled foreign, technical worker. Those had a fast track system. Like you went to some fancy school, and if you could speak Japanese, you'd get extra points. And then, like, even after, I think the shortest is like maybe after 1 year, you could get permanent residence. But the trap is, if you leave Japan and you're permanent resident, you still have to pay taxes in Japan. So even if you leave the country, not everybody wants to be a permanent resident.
Yeah. Steve says, Paul Nation was one of my grad school. Yeah, this way. Paul Nation was one of my grad school teachers. Great personality and teaching chops. Okay. Axeman lived in Singapore for some time before Japan. It has 2-tier visa system as well. Feels the same. Indians built the country, but they are often blocked from the white collar world. Yeah, I've never been in that part of the world. I believe that total immersion is the best if there is a variety of students with no common L1. Agreed with Richard about using Japanese to free up time for me and meaningful learning. Yes, and so do I. L1 for scolding, L2 for praise. That way L2 doesn't get a negative aura. There you go. I taught content-based university classes and always used both English and Japanese. If I didn't, they would have been lost, especially with the level of students coming into the universities today. Something. Okay, again, I have to watch my mouth. I qualified for a resident visa with over 100 points, no Japanese language, and also a spouse visa. That's what Richard says. Okay. All right. Oh, more total immersion. Yep, about total immersion at TUJ because a lot of students don't speak Japanese. Okay, what else do we have here? Is there anything else? Legal revision. Yeah.
I was going to say, so this is more of a comment to follow up on one of your recent videos. Like, one of the reasons why you said you're more comfortable in Japan than the States was sort of like if you moved back to the States, the medical system in the States. And I was going to go through some of the things that are better about the Japanese medical system experience than in the States.
Have at it.
Obviously it's cheaper, right? So Japan has I believe it's a single payer system. So like the prices of drugs, the prices of procedures are all pretty much established by the government. And so there's a lot of, like high, expensive drugs that, like in the States. So like this one drug, it's like $7,000 a month in the States, or in Japan, the price, even without insurance, is more like $1,000. And then of course you get insurance. Another thing is, so like when I hear about people in the States, like they go to the doctor, they leave, they don't get a bill like when they leave, they get a bill like 3 months later. And the bill that they get 3 months later, it's like a mini phone book. And there's like so many codes. And then if you're like, they did what? They're charging me for what? Then you call and it's like an hour, and they're like, "Oh, that's code blah blah blah. That's what they said they did." It's like, well, I don't remember that. And so basically, you can't dispute it. I guess there's another thing where, like in the States, you might have something done, and then later your insurance says, "Oh, we decided you didn't need that, so you got to pay for that yourself." Whereas in Japan, like when you leave the doctor's office, they say, "This is what you owe us. Give it to us," and then you leave and you're done. And so, like in Japan, there's like no unpleasant surprises, whereas in the States, you know, getting rejected or getting an unexpected bill that you think may or may not be justified, I think those are all pretty common experiences for people in the States. So yeah, I totally agree that Japanese experience is much more, I guess, predictable, for lack of a better word. Like you know what you're getting. There's no surprises.
Yeah,
it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And especially financially.
Yeah, especially for those the official services, right? I mean, everything is by the book, and that's why I always said, I don't think there could ever be the scandal like they're having in the United States now about hospice care and stuff. Though there are dishonest people that do bad things, and I'm sure they commit fraud here too, but not at the scale like it seems to be happening in the United States these days. Japan is one of the commenters on one of my videos said something that really got me thinking, and I had never thought about this before. I'll talk about two comments if you don't mind. One of them
Sure.
is in regard to this. I got to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Some of the things about Japan that at first glance look like negative, bad things, that is, they're too rule-oriented, or there's always this, you got to go in and renew your My Number card after 5 years or 10, and all this other kind of crap. Some of the things that we hate about Japan that can be seen as negative are things that are keeping Japan the way it is. And some of the positive traits of the United States, freedom of speech, freedom of anybody can access Medicare or Medicaid, and these kind of on apparently very positive things are contributing to the problems in the United States, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at it, right?
So okay, if anybody can use, who's obviously the right age and whatever qualifies, if they can use Medicare or Medicaid, then that's going to cause a huge burden on the budget. Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's not. People who could use it, good, use it, right? But it's too easy to access, so it's open to abuse, false IDs,
so like fraud,
stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, fraud. Right. And by making it widely accessible and easily accessible, it's easier to have fraud committed. Because I don't know, did you know about the Japanese rules about welfare? Like
I was telling my brother about that today. He's like, no way. Yeah. I told him about what you said in your video.
Yeah, you'd have to sell your car and stuff like that.
But and you have to prove that none of your relatives have any money either, right?
Yeah. And if they do, why don't you go ask them, Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, I don't like my brother. It's like, that sucks for you.
Yeah. That's pretty screwed up. And another thing, and I think we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, but there's another thing I'd like to say about a commenter said something. I was talking about I went back to the States and I worked in my father's company and it was horrible. And I came back to Japan and the army paid for, the state paid for my school, and I was getting an allowance from the government because I had been in the army. And it made me sound like I was, poor little old me. And one of the commenters said, you're such a fortunate person. He said, you're the ultimate boomer, is what he called me. He says, you could do that, right? You could, you had the means, the wherewithal to get all that done. And I started thinking, I says, yeah, that's right, isn't it? And I do feel fortunate a lot, right? Even doing this, not meaning to get too strange, but even launching a successful channel like this, I feel very fortunate. Yeah.
You're not up to 100,000 subscribers yet, but you're on your way.
No, yeah, but I think we added more than 1,000 in the past week or so.
Yeah. You added at least one this hour, so.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's go really quickly here and then see if we can wrap this thing up. Are these conversations regular or scheduled? Feels like office hours for a professor. You mean the conversations that we're having here?
No, so you have twice a week, right? So you have Saturday and Wednesday or Tuesday night Japan US time.
Yeah. Axeman, come on. I do Saturday, Wednesday at 10 a.m. And we do, not Saturday, Wednesday at 10 a.m. and Saturday at 8 p.m. Karl and I are together. And you're welcome anytime. So Japan's medical system is extremely good, except for advanced procedures and new technologies. Yeah, that's the rub against it often, that they don't.
In my experience, like if there's a new drug, then it seems like Japan is like a year or two later than, let's say, the States. But it'll be like a tenth the price or something like that. So
yeah. The bill I get 3 months later in the USA goes in the trash immediately, Karl.
So
if you can do it.
It's good for starting fires in your fireplace. Yeah.
There you go. Your comment about medical pricing matches research that was done at the nearby university hospital. Without insurance, Japanese prices are about 1/7 of U.S. prices for the same basic procedures. Makes you wonder, why is it? Go ahead.
Make your comment and then I'll add one.
I was just going to say, I've always wondered, why is it so expensive in the U.S.? That's all.
So there's another phenomenon in the U.S. of negotiated price. So let's say drawing a blood test and do, let's say, a complete blood count, which is like a very basic test. I have no idea what the actual numbers are, but let's say in the States it's $100. But your insurance, that's for somebody who doesn't have insurance. They have to pay the quote unquote full price. But insurance companies will negotiate, and that test, instead of costing $100, the reduced price before insurance kicks in, it would be like $2, not like $89 or $75. It's like a tiny fraction, and then you get like your 80% coverage, and then the 20% is yours. So the person who doesn't have any insurance, they pay $100 because they have to pay the quote unquote full price, and then the person who has insurance, they pay like 50 cents. Obviously, there's some other things that go with it, but that discrepancy. So for the people who can't even afford insurance, they get gouged to, like at an insane level. And that seemed, I guess that's business, but it seemed morally wrong to me.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it? It sure does. Even less, Richard, that's even less than 1/7. And he says, yes, recently less due to the exchange rate fluctuation. There was some talk a while back. Wasn't Trump saying, oh, I got drug prices to the lowest that they've ever been? Is that true? Have drug prices gone down in the United States?
I think so. I'm here, not there, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think that there are, once drugs go generic, then they get to be fairly reasonably priced. Maybe not all drugs, but a lot of them. And I think that there are more, like Amazon now, I think sells drugs online, but only the ones that you don't need insurance for, because insurance probably messes things up.
Mm.
But
Mm.
it when I check American drug prices online just for a laugh, they don't seem that cheap to me.
Okay. Canada's health care balances the budget with medically assisted suicide. Now maids account for 1 in 20 deaths. Yeah, that's a depressing topic, isn't it? Like the Japanese sci-fi Plan 75. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. You know, Plan 75, this movie. You get to a certain
No.
age, you get to a certain age, and you
Oh,
make a contract, and you can, you know, I don't know. It's they give you money if you allow yourself to be killed or something like that. Yeah.
so okay, so there was a movie called Logan's Run. I think that was the
Uh-huh.
1970s, where
Uh,
once you got to be 30, you would
mm.
go to the next town. But in order to get to the next town, you would go into this like centrifuge thing, and the next town was death. And some
Oh,
people figured that out, and that's why it's called Logan's Run. And then, of course, Japan has Ubasteyama, right? So,
yeah,
like the idea of you taking the old people out to the forest and leave them there, and that's how you deal with the old people.
yeah,
I don't know if that
yeah,
was actually happened or if that was just sort of like a story that they told people,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you know,
yeah. All right. Most of the Medicare and Medicaid fraud is committed by the providers and insurance companies.
yeah. I think
I could
that's what you
believe
were
that.
saying before. Yeah.
Yeah. Less than $25 for a crown, Richard. 2,500 in the USA. Oh, crown?
Sounds like
Tooth
dental work.
crown? Yeah,
Yeah,
dental
I
work. Yeah.
yeah, like a crown on your teeth. I've had, fortunately, not too much dental work, but you know, so for dental work in Japan, there's the stuff that's covered by insurance. But if you want a porcelain inlay, then you have to pay the full amount. But yeah, I really don't know how Japanese dentists afford their yachts. I mean, in the
Yeah.
States, you just charge
Well,
$2,500 for a crown,
Japanese
but
dentists
in
have
Japan,
they have their
go
multiple
ahead.
visit strategy, you know. You can't have to keep
What
going back and
when I first came to Japan in the 90s, I heard lots about that. But in my case, so that like they would like clean a quarter of your teeth and say, oh no, you got to come back. But now, now they just do it in one shot. So
uh,
I think the multiple visits is more of a thing in the past than a current policy.
okay. Viagra was approved quickly in Japan. Ooh. I heard that the other one,
Cialis?
Cialis was approved for over the counter here recently. I
Okay.
think that's what I heard. I think that's what I said. Maybe wrong. Don't take, yeah. A breath of fresh air, will definitely,
Oh, aisle.
I'll definitely schedule an alarm for next week if I'm free. 8 p.m. Kids are asleep. Yeah, please do. I hope so. I hope so. If you want to see the way that healthcare finance in the U.S. works, look up the Medicare drug rebate program. It's a kickback program on steroids. Okay. All right. Well, the Hyojin,
報酬月額
okay, tops 1.4 million monthly.
and 標準
This,
所要額
yeah, so this makes health insurance premiums extremely high. I challenge if it's value for money. It benefits the younger peoples. Okay,
So
that's more than I. Yeah, go ahead.
I know all those kanji, and obviously we're talking about health insurance, but I don't know like what those things mean to know uh, to be able to talk about it. I guess in Japan, health insurance premiums. So the worst in Japan is if you make a lot of money and you never get sick, then obviously you're going to pay the highest premiums and you're not going to get any benefit from it. But because insurance premium, I don't know what the status is in the States, but if you have low income in Japan, you can get your insurance premiums are cheaper, and then the coverage is still the same. Although things like there's like a high cost medical, like if you have let's say cancer or something like that, and if you have more than X amount per month that you're paying, then the overage gets covered at 100%, and that's sort of a stopgap for if you have really high medical costs, which because the United States is not one system, then I don't know what most people's coverage is like.
I made the mistake of taking on more classes and selling some stock one year. And the whole year I had to pay ridiculous amounts in health insurance. It was really getting
you
annoying.
sold a bunch of stock, and then that meant that you made a whole bunch of money, and then that meant that you paid really high premiums. Yeah, and then your Juminzei, your residence tax would go through the roof too. Yeah.
Big mistake. That's why I don't work as much as I would like to. But okay. Sorry, it's Medicaid drug rebate program, not Medicare. Okay, let's get one more here. We start thinking about wrapping it up. Obas, not O, not U, but O. Obas, yeah.
No, I think it's Uba. No, I think it's Uba. Yeah. So Uba used to mean. So you're saying I'm wrong? I mean, I could be wrong. Are you looking it up? But it's like send it.
No, it just asked me. Do you it says Obasteyama or Ubasteyama.
Uba. Okay.
Yeah, it's got both of them. So.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I learned something new.
But I can understand why Oba Steyama would seem more. I mean, like Oba-san, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them are coming out on a Google search. So anyway, that's not. But anyway, is a psychological factor in why informed consent cannot be practiced the same as in the U.S. The elderly want you to discuss the informed consent with the son. Uba is the name of a village. Okay, so maybe Uba was the name of a village, but maybe in the popular lexicon, it got bastardized into Oba because of what is actually going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Uba is okay. That's about it. That's 2 hours. Woo! For only covering 2 stories. Boy, oh boy, this is one of the most
chewing a lot of fat.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the most dynamic discussions that we've ever had, and it's great. I mean, like I said, actually, that's what a live stream is supposed to be. There's a lot of discussion among the different participants. If my income is derived from hedge funds in Panama, will my healthcare premiums remain low in Japan? I don't know. Why?
My guess is it's. So I'm not a tax attorney. I have no idea. But my guess is it depends on what your filing of Japanese income tax is. So
and it depends on how well you launder it, right?
Not saying that you should launder it. Gaijin Rag Chu. We could change the name to Gaijin.
Yeah, there you go. Gaijin Rag Chu. That sounds pretty good.
I think GAIJIN50 Plus has more refined sense to it. But maybe
anyway.
maybe it's false advertising, and Gaijin Rag Chu is calling it like it is.
Yeah. Enjoyable content. Thanks, guys, and thank you, and wishing you a pleasant Sunday. I gotta go. Well, I gotta go to help somebody out do a performance tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow evening, I gotta go watch a performance by that Elvis Presley guy. And then Monday, I'm going to Atami. A bunch of people are going to go out and to this guy's besso, and I don't know what we're going to do there.
Play country music?
But, yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy who owns the besso, he's my steel guitar player.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And you got work starting up pretty soon here?
Yeah, actually, on the 16th, we have our first meeting.
Oh, okay. You got a little while. So Japanese universities start so slow. It's like, it should be like April 1st. Get ready to go. Get ready to go. But they ease into it.
But I didn't take any work during the break. Some in the past we would ask for other work and get it, but I told them I didn't want to have any work during the break because I wanted to concentrate on the channel, and I did, and it worked. And so I told them I only want to teach 2 days a week next semester, so I'm only be teaching Thursday and Friday, and I'll be here putting out videos. So I'm going to become a professional YouTuber. Like I see,
you already are. Just low revenue, right?
Low revenue at this point in time. But it's so frustrating. I see some people putting out a lot of crap, that seem to be making a lot of money at it. Anyway, getting a lot of views anyway. But I don't want to complain about that too much.
As I kind of messaged you earlier, I do feel I didn't use this exact word before, but I do feel that not so much these lives, but you're kind of telling the universal, is to the extent that such a thing can exist, long-term Japan resident gaijin story, and it's. I've been here 30 years. You've been here 50. You got a little more insight than I do. So I feel like there's going to be lots of people who will look at these videos, 5-10 years from now, are like, oh yeah, okay, that's really interesting that somebody who's been here this long, that's one way that it can turn out. So yeah.
Well, sometimes I feel like in the past when somebody would have one of these recordings about the last surviving soldier from the Civil War. I feel like that. Well, they came over the hill and.
Well, I do have to say I haven't heard a lot of stories from people who were in Japan in the 70s telling it like it was. So that's why I'm here.
Good. And it's always good to see you, and it's good to see everybody else. Like I always quote Tom Waits when he was sitting at his piano. He'd say, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. Be a real bummer if nobody showed up. And that's exactly how I feel. Thank you to all of you, the regulars, the irregulars, the new people. Thank you, Karl. And we'll see you the next time. Bye.
See you guys.